Taeho wiped the sweat from his forehead and stared at his ship's control panel. The green lights blinked steadily, showing everything was working fine. His cargo ship, the Morning Wind, moved through space at a comfortable speed. He was carrying medicine to a small mining colony 3 days away. It was a boring job, but it paid well. The cargo pilot had been doing this work for 10 years now. He knew these routes like the back of his hand. Nothing ever happened out here in the frontier sectors. Just empty space, a few asteroids, and the occasional passing ship. That was exactly how Taeho liked it. Simple, quiet, safe. Then his scanner made a strange noise. Taeho leaned forward and looked at the screen. There was something out there, a signal. It was weak and broken, like someone was trying to call for help, but their radio was damaged. The signal was coming from the shattered belt, a dangerous area full of asteroids and broken ships. He should ignore it. Smart pilots stayed away from the shattered belt. The rocks there moved in strange ways because of spatial problems in that area. Many ships had gone in and never come out. But something about the signal bothered him. It sounded desperate. Taeho thought about his own family. When he was 16, his parents and younger sister had died in a mining accident. Nobody had been there to help them. Nobody had even tried. He still remembered that feeling of helplessness, of knowing they died alone and scared. He changed course toward the signal. The Morning Wind moved carefully through the asteroid field. Taeho's hands were steady on the controls as he guided the ship between the floating rocks. Some were as small as cars. Others were as big as buildings. He had to move slowly and carefully. After 20 minutes of tense flying, he found the source of the signal. It was a ship, but not like any ship he had seen before. The hull was dark and smooth, with strange patterns that seemed to shift in the light. Half of it was buried in a large asteroid. The ship had been shot many times. Taeho could see the burn marks from energy weapons all over its surface. He brought the Morning Wind close and put on his spacesuit. Before leaving his ship, he checked the damaged vessel's readings. No life signs, no power, no air. Whatever had happened here, it was over. Taeho connected a cable between the two ships and crossed over. The airlock was damaged but still working. He got inside and turned on his helmet light. The inside of the ship was cold and dark. Bodies lay everywhere. They were not human. These were aliens, but not any species Taeho recognized at first. They were large, maybe 3 times the size of a human. Their skin looked like it was made of crystal scales that still glowed faintly even in death. They had long necks, powerful legs, and wings folded against their backs. Then Taeho's blood went cold. He knew what these creatures were. He had seen pictures in classified reports during his military service years ago. These were Varath, dragons, the most hated and feared species in the entire galaxy. The Galactic Council had been hunting the Varath for hundreds of years. Everyone said they were monsters, killers, destroyers of worlds. The Council had declared that every single Varath must be found and destroyed. There was no trial, no questions asked. Just death. Taeho should leave right now. He should call the authorities and let them know about this ship. That would be the smart thing to do. The safe thing to do. But something made him keep looking. This ship was not a warship. It had no weapons. It looked like a cargo vessel or maybe a transport ship. And the Varath inside were not wearing armor or carrying guns. They looked like they had been running away from something, not attacking anyone. Taeho moved deeper into the ship. He found a large room that looked like it was meant for carrying cargo. The door was still sealed. He forced it open with his emergency tools. Inside was a special chamber with glowing walls. It was some kind of protective room, designed to keep whatever was inside safe from damage. In the center of the room, on a soft platform, were 3 small creatures. They were baby Varath, hatchlings. Each one was about the size of a large dog. Their scales were different colors. One was red and orange like fire, another was dark blue and purple like shadows, and the third was pale blue and white like the sky. The scales glowed very faintly, getting weaker with each moment. The hatchlings were barely alive. Taeho could see they were injured and starving. Their breathing was slow and weak. They would be dead in less than an hour if someone did not help them. Every logical part of Taeho's mind screamed at him to walk away. These were Varath, dragons, the enemy of every civilized species in the galaxy. If he helped them, if anyone found out, he would be arrested. He would probably be executed. His life would be over. But when he looked at the 3 small creatures, he did not see monsters. He saw babies. He saw children who were hurt and scared and dying. Children who had watched their parents get killed. Children who were alone. Tejo thought about his own sister. She had been small too when she died. Had she been scared? Had she called for help? He made his decision. He found some thermal blankets in the Varath ship and carefully wrapped each hatchling. They were cold, so cold. He carried them one at a time back to the morning wind, moving as quickly as he could while being gentle. Once all three were in his ship's medical bay, Tejo started working. He had basic medical training from his military days. He set up warming units around them. He found some liquid nutrition in his emergency supplies and carefully fed it to them through a tube. He cleaned and bandaged their wounds. The smallest hatchling, the pale blue one, opened its eyes. They were large and intelligent, full of pain and fear. The creature looked at Tejo for a long moment. Then something strange happened. Tejo felt something touch his mind. It was not words. It was feelings, gratitude, relief, trust. The hatchling was thanking him. It understood that he was trying to help. It knew he was safe. Tears filled Tejo's eyes. These creatures were not mindless monsters. They were people. They could think. They could feel. They understood kindness. Suddenly, his ship's alarm started blaring. Someone was coming. Tejo ran to the control room and checked his scanners. A Galactic Council patrol ship was approaching the area. They must have detected the Varath ship and come to investigate. Tejo did not think. He just acted. He disconnected from the Varath ship, fired his engines, and aimed for the edge of the asteroid field. His hands flew over the controls, dodging rocks and debris. The patrol ship's scanners swept over his vessel. Tejo held his breath. Did they see him? Did they know what he was carrying? His hyperspace engine charged up. Just a few more seconds. The patrol ship was changing course, turning toward him. They had spotted something suspicious. The engine reached full power. Tejo activated it and the morning wind jumped into hyperspace, leaving the patrol ship far behind. He was safe. For now. But Tejo knew his life had just changed forever. He was now a fugitive. A criminal. He was protecting the three most wanted creatures in the entire galaxy. He went back to the medical bay and looked at the three sleeping hatchlings. Their glow was a little brighter now. They would survive. The smallest one, the pale blue hatchling, had one eye open. It watched him with what looked like hope. Tejo sat down beside them and sighed. What had he gotten himself into? He needed help. He needed answers. He needed to know what to do next. He thought of Hyeran, a scientist he knew from his university days. She studied alien life. If anyone could help him understand these creatures and keep them alive, it would be her. He sent her a coded message, being careful not to say too much in case someone was listening. While waiting for her reply, Tejo gave the hatchlings names. The red-orange one would be Ember because its scales glowed like fire. The dark one would be Shadow because it seemed quiet and watchful. And the pale blue one, the smallest, would be Sky because its scales reminded him of a clear morning sky. His computer beeped. Hyeran had replied. Her message was short and urgent. What have you done? Do you know what you are carrying? Those are Varath hatchlings. If the council finds you, they will kill you on sight. No trial, no mercy. You need to hide. Now. I will send you safe coordinates. Delete this message immediately. Tejo deleted the message and set course for the coordinates Hyeran sent. He looked at the three hatchlings one more time. They were resting peacefully now, trusting him to keep them safe. He had no idea what would happen next. He only knew one thing for certain. He would protect these three lives with everything he had, even if it cost him his own life. Because that was what humans did. They protected those who could not protect themselves. They stood up for the innocent. Even when the entire galaxy said they were wrong. The morning wind flew through hyperspace, carrying its precious and dangerous cargo toward an uncertain future. 3 days had passed since Tejo rescued the hatchlings. He had been running ever since. Every time he stopped for fuel or supplies, he felt like someone was watching him. Every ship that came near made his heart race. The hatchlings were getting stronger. They could move around now, though they still tired quickly. Ember, the red one, was the most active. It liked to explore every corner of the ship. Shadow stayed close to the walls, always watching. Sky, the smallest, stayed near Tejo most of the time. When he worked at the control panel, Sky would curl up near his feet. Tejo had learned to understand their mental touches. They could not speak with words, but they could share feelings and simple pictures. Through these connections, he had seen flashes of what happened to their parents. Council warships, bright weapons fire, terror and pain. The adults had hidden their babies in the protected room and fought desperately to escape. They had all died trying. Then came the day everything got worse. Taiho was checking the news feeds when he saw his own face staring back at him. The headline made his stomach drop. Wanted. Human pilot Taiho. Harboring illegal Varath specimens. Reward, 50 million credits. Dead or alive, 50 million credits. That was enough money to buy a small moon. Every bounty hunter in the galaxy would be looking for him now. Worse, the Council had declared him an enemy of galactic peace. Anyone who helped him would be arrested too. Taiho had no choice but to keep moving. But his ship was making strange noises. The engine had been working too hard for too many days. He needed repairs, but he could not go to any official station. They would arrest him immediately. He remembered hearing about Haven Station. It was a place far from Council control, where criminals and outcasts could do business without asking too many questions. It was dangerous, but it was his only option. Haven Station looked like it had been built from the parts of 100 different ships. It floated in an empty region of space where no one bothered to patrol. Taiho docked carefully, keeping his hand near his gun. He had hidden the hatchlings in a special compartment he built in the cargo bay. They did not like being separated from him, but it was safer this way. The mechanic shop was in the lower levels of the station. It smelled like oil and hot metal. A young woman looked up from the engine she was working on. She had grease on her face and hands, and her eyes were sharp and intelligent. Her name was Mirai. She was the best mechanic on the station, according to the rumors Taiho had heard. She looked at him for a long moment, then at his ship visible through the window. Her expression did not change, but Taiho knew she recognized him from the bounty posting. The silence stretched between them. Finally, Mirai spoke. "Your engine is dying. You have maybe 2 more jumps before it breaks completely. That will cost you 20,000 credits to fix." Taiho nodded slowly. He had the money. Barely. "Can you do it in 6 hours?" Mirai wiped her hands on a cloth. "I can do it in 4. But I want to know why a man with 50 million credits on his head is running instead of fighting." Taiho considered lying, but something in Mirai's eyes made him think she would know. So he told her the truth. "Or part of it, I am protecting something, someone. They are innocent. They did nothing wrong. But the Council wants them dead anyway." Mirai studied him carefully. "Show me it was a risk. A huge risk." But Taiho's instincts told him he could trust this woman. He led her to his ship and opened the hidden compartment. The 3 hatchlings looked up at the stranger with curious eyes. Sky made a soft chirping sound. Mirai's eyes went wide. She took a step back, her hand moving toward her weapon. Then she stopped. She looked at the hatchlings more carefully. They were not threatening. They were not showing teeth or claws. Ember was actually trying to hide behind shadow, nervous about the new person. "These are Varath," Mirai whispered. "Babies," Taiho corrected. "They are children. I found them on a destroyed refugee ship. Their parents were killed by Council forces. These 3 are all that is left." Mirai knelt down slowly. She held out her hand toward Sky. The small hatchling hesitated, then moved forward and sniffed her fingers. Sky's mental touch reached out, sharing feelings of curiosity and hope. Tears formed in Mirai's eyes. "They are people. They can think. They can feel." "Yes," Taiho said simply. Mirai stood up, her expression hardening with determination. "I will fix your engine, no charge. And I will upgrade your stealth systems too. You will need them." While Mirai worked on the ship, Taiho received a coded message from Hyaran. She had been researching the Varath in the classified archives. What she found changed everything. The Varath were not monsters. They had been peaceful people who lived on their own worlds and minded their own business. But they had powerful mental abilities and advanced technology. The Galactic Council had demanded the Varath share their secrets and join the Council. When the Varath refused, saying they wanted to remain independent, the Council declared them dangerous. What followed was not a war. It was genocide. The Council had spent 300 years hunting down every Varath they could find. They destroyed Varath worlds. They killed Varath civilians. They even killed the children. All because the Varath would not bow to Council authority. And the Council had lied to everyone about it. They created false records and fake stories about Varath attacks. They made everyone afraid of the dragon so no one would question the killing. Taeho felt sick reading the report. The entire galaxy had been lied to for centuries, and these 3 innocent babies were marked for death because of those lies. He was not going to let that happen. As Taeho prepared to leave Haven Station, danger arrived. A bounty hunter had tracked him there. His name was Dae-sung, and he was one of the best. He was also a former military pilot who had fought in the campaigns against the Verath. Dae-sung cornered Taeho in a corridor near the docking bay. He was a tall man with cold eyes and a scar across his cheek. His gun was already drawn. "You should have killed them when you found them," Dae-sung said. "Would have been easier for everyone." "They are children," Taeho replied, keeping his hands visible. "Babies, they never hurt anyone. They are Verath. That is all that matters. Now move." "You are coming with me." Before either man could do anything, Sky appeared from around the corner. The small hatchling must have escaped from the ship. It saw Taeho in danger and rushed forward, placing itself between the 2 men. Dae-sung pointed his gun at Sky. "Move, creature." "I have killed bigger dragons than you." Sky did not move. Instead, the hatchling did something it had never done before. It opened its mind completely and projected its memories directly into Dae-sung's thoughts. Dae-sung stumbled backward, his gun lowering. His face went pale. He was seeing what Sky had seen. The attack on the refugee ship. Parents desperately trying to protect their children. Families huddled together in terror as council forces fired on unarmed ships. The screams, the pain, the death, and then Sky shared something else. Memories from its mother. Memories of Verath worlds burning. Of children running from soldiers. Of peaceful villages destroyed. Of a people who had done nothing wrong being systematically murdered. Dae-sung fell to his knees. His gun clattered to the floor. His hands were shaking. "What have I done?" he whispered. "What have we all done?" Taeho carefully picked up the gun and backed away. Sky returned to his side, pressing close to his leg. Dae-sung looked up at him with broken eyes. "I believed the lies. I fought in the war. I killed them. I killed so many of them. I thought I was protecting people. I thought I was doing the right thing. But it was all murder. It was all genocide." Taeho did not know what to say. He just stood there, holding Sky, watching this hardened soldier break down as the truth destroyed everything he thought he knew. Finally, Taeho spoke quietly. "You can help us now. You can help make it right." Dae-sung looked at the hatchling, then at Taeho. How? How can I possibly make this right? Help me keep them alive. Help me tell the truth to the galaxy. Help me show everyone what really happened." Dae-sung slowly stood up. He nodded. "I will help you. I will do whatever it takes." Back on the Morning Wind, with Mirai's repairs complete and Dae-sung now an unlikely ally, Taeho made a decision. Running and hiding was not enough. The galaxy needed to know the truth. He was going to broadcast everything. The evidence Hiren found. Videos of the hatchlings, everything. It was dangerous. It would make him an even bigger target. But it was the right thing to do. That night, Taeho sent his message to every communication channel he could reach. He showed the galaxy 3 small hatchlings playing together. He showed them documents proving the council's lies. He showed them what refugees looked like when they were murdered for wanting freedom. And he ended with a simple question. Why is the council so desperate to murder 3 children? Within hours, the message had spread to thousands of worlds. People were talking. People were questioning. People were demanding answers. The galaxy would never be the same. The galaxy exploded with chaos after Taeho's broadcast. On some worlds, people marched in the streets demanding the council explain itself. On others, angry mobs gathered, still believing the old lies about the Verath being monsters. Everyone had an opinion and no one could agree. The Galactic Council scrambled to control the damage. They released statements calling Taeho a terrorist and claiming his evidence was fake. They said the hatchlings were dangerous weapons that only looked innocent. They declared martial law in multiple sectors and sent their military forces to hunt for the Morning Wind. But not everyone believed them anymore. Cracks were forming in the council's power. Taeho received hundreds of messages. Some were death threats from people who still hated the Verath, but others were offers of help. Secret resistance groups contacted him. Former council members who had quit in protest years ago reached out. Even some alien species who had always doubted the council's story sent coded support. One message stood out. It was from an old scientist who claimed to know about a hidden Verath sanctuary world, a place where some Verath might have survived. The message included coordinates and a warning. The Council thinks this world was destroyed. If any Verath still live there, they are the last hope for the species. Tejo shared the information with his small group. Daisung was now fully committed to helping. Mireille had also joined them, saying she could not go back to her old life after meeting the hatchlings. And Hyeron, who had been arrested after her research was discovered, had been freed by protesters who stormed the facility where she was held. She met up with them at a secret location. The 4 humans gathered around a table in the Morning Wind's small common area. The 3 hatchlings were growing fast. They were now the size of ponies, and their mental abilities were becoming stronger every day. They could share complex ideas now, not just feelings. Ember projected an image of the sanctuary world coordinates into everyone's mind. The hatchling wanted to go there. It felt like home somehow, even though they had never been there. It is worth the risk, Hyeron said. If adult Verath exist, they can testify to the truth. Their own words and memories would be undeniable proof. Daesung studied the star charts. The sanctuary world is deep in uncharted space. We would have to pass through 3 council blockade zones to get there. They will be watching for us. I can help with that, Mireille said. I know some smugglers who have military-grade stealth equipment. It will cost us, but we can get past the blockades. Taiho looked at each of his friends, then at the 3 hatchlings. Sky met his eyes and sent him a feeling of trust and hope. These creatures believed in him. His friends believed in him. He could not let them down. We go to the sanctuary world, he decided. We end this one way or another. Preparing for the journey took 2 weeks. They gathered supplies, upgraded the ship's systems, and connected with the underground resistance network. More people joined their cause. Some provided money. Others gave information about council ship movements. A few even volunteered to create diversions to help them escape. During this time, the hatchlings continued to grow and develop. They could now generate small energy shields to protect themselves. Shadow had learned to create illusions that could fool sensors and cameras. Ember could breathe small bursts of superheated plasma. And Sky, the smallest, had developed incredible healing abilities. When Mirai cut her hand badly on a sharp tool, Sky touched the wound and it closed within minutes. The more Taiho learned about the Verath, the more he understood why the council had feared them. These were beings of tremendous power and intelligence, but they were also gentle and kind. They only used their abilities to help and protect, never to harm. Meanwhile, Commander Velcro of the Galactic Council was becoming obsessed with capturing Taiho and the hatchlings. She was a 4-armed reptilian warrior from the Ushkari species. She had lost her entire family and homeworld to a Verath incident centuries ago, back when her ancestors had a territorial dispute with a Verath colony. To Velcro, the Verath were not misunderstood victims. They were destroyers. She had dedicated her entire life to making sure they could never hurt anyone again. When she heard about the hatchlings, she personally took command of the extermination fleet. She would not rest until every last Verath was dead. The day came to make their run toward the sanctuary world. The Morning Wind, now equipped with advanced stealth technology, slipped past the first blockade without being detected. The second blockade was harder. They had to time their jump perfectly to pass through a gap in the patrol pattern, but the third blockade was a trap. Commander Velcro had been tracking the Resistance Network's communications. She knew where they were going. Her entire fleet was waiting for them. When the Morning Wind dropped out of hyperspace, they were surrounded by 50 warships. Every weapon was pointed at them. They had no chance of escape. Commander Velcro's face appeared on their communication screen. Her expression was cold and determined. Human Tejo, you have 10 seconds to surrender the Verath creatures. If you comply, you will be arrested but not killed. If you refuse, we will destroy your ship. Tejo looked at his friends. They all knew they could not win this fight. The fleet around them had enough firepower to destroy a planet. But they also knew they could not surrender. If they gave up the hatchlings, the 3 young Verath would be killed immediately. No, Taiho said simply. Velcro's eyes narrowed. So be it. All ships, open fire. Before the weapons could fire, something incredible happened. The 3 hatchlings moved to the center of the ship. They stood together, touching their heads to each other. Their scales began to glow brighter and brighter. Ember, Shadow, and Sky combined their mental powers. Together, they reached out across space and touched every mind in the entire fleet. Every pilot, every soldier, every gunner, even Commander Velcro herself. And in that moment, everyone felt what the hatchlings felt. Peace, love, hope, forgiveness. The Verath shared their true nature with thousands of people all at once. They showed their memories of peaceful worlds and happy families. They showed their pain at being hunted and killed. They showed their desperate desire to simply live. Then they did something even more remarkable. The three young Verath generated a massive pulse of energy. It spread outward from the morning wind in a blue-white wave. When it hit the warships, their weapons systems shut down. Their engines went offline. Every piece of military technology stopped working. But the life support systems kept working. The lights stayed on. No one was hurt. The hatchlings had disabled an entire fleet without killing a single person. Inside those ships, thousands of soldiers sat in stunned silence. They had felt the mental touch of the Verath. They had experienced the truth directly. Many were crying. Some were angry at themselves. Others were confused. But none of them wanted to fight anymore. On her command ship, Commander Velcra sat motionless. She had felt everything. She had seen the truth. But she did not want to believe it. Her entire life was built on the belief that the Verath were evil. If that was a lie, then everything she had done, everyone she had killed, was for nothing. The three hatchlings collapsed, exhausted from the massive effort. Tejo rushed to their side. They were breathing but barely conscious. Using that much power had drained them completely. Sky looked up at him weakly and sent one last message into his mind. Go now, get to safety. We showed them truth. Now they must choose. Disung was already at the controls. The morning wind's engines were still working. He activated the hyperspace drive and they jumped away, leaving the disabled fleet behind. They traveled for 3 more days, using hidden routes that the resistance network provided. During that time, news came in from across the galaxy. The soldiers from the fleet were talking. They were sharing what they had felt. Videos and testimonies were spreading on every communication channel. More and more people were turning against the council. Entire planets were withdrawing their support. Some council members were resigning. Others were being arrested by their own governments for war crimes. The truth was unstoppable now. The hatchlings had done what no amount of evidence or arguments could do. They had let people feel the truth directly. Finally, the morning wind reached the coordinates of the sanctuary world. They approached carefully, not knowing what they would find. The planet was beautiful. It had blue oceans and green forests. But there was something else, too. A shimmer in the air around it. Some kind of protective shield that hid it from normal sensors. As they got closer, the hatchlings woke up. All three were excited, making chirping sounds and projecting feelings of joy. This was their ancestral home. This was where they belonged. The shield around the planet opened as if recognizing the Verath aboard the ship. The morning wind descended through the atmosphere. Below them, they could see ancient cities built from crystal and stone. Vast forests with trees that glowed at night. Rivers that sparkled with pure water. It was a paradise, but it was also empty. There were no Verath flying in the skies. No signs of life in the cities. Just silence and emptiness. Had they come all this way only to find another dead world? Elder Krevash rose slowly from the stasis chamber. She was weak from her long sleep, but her presence filled the entire temple. The 3 hatchlings rushed to her, making happy sounds. She touched each one gently with her massive head, welcoming them home. Then her ancient eyes turned to the 4 humans standing nervously at the entrance. Tejo felt her mind touch his, but it was gentle, kind. She was just introducing herself. You are the one who saved them, the human who showed courage when the galaxy showed only hate. Come closer, Tejo of Earth. Let me thank you properly. Tejo walked forward, his friends following behind. Elder Krevash lowered her head until she was level with him. One of her large eyes studied him carefully. You risked everything for 3 children you did not know. You showed them love when the universe showed them only death. There are no words in any language to thank you enough. I just did what was right, Tejo said simply. That is why you are special, human. In a galaxy that forgot what right means, you remembered. Elder Krevash turned to address all of them. She explained her story. She had been one of the last defenders of the Verath homeworld when the Council attacked. She was injured badly in the battle. When she realized the Verath were going to lose, she put herself in stasis with one mission, to preserve the truth about what happened. The Council wanted to erase our history. They wanted to turn us into monsters in stories that parents tell their children, but I hold the true memories. I witnessed everything, and now I can finally share it with the galaxy. Elder Krivash shared her memories with everyone in the temple. Not just feelings like the hatchlings did, but complete, detailed memories. It was like watching a recording, but more real. They experienced it as if they were there. They saw the Varath civilization at its height. Beautiful cities where dragons and other species lived together peacefully. Libraries filled with knowledge. Hospitals where Varath healers helped anyone who needed it. Schools where children of all species learned together. They saw the day the Galactic Council sent its demands. Submit to Council law. Share all Varath technology. Give up independence. The Varath elders had discussed it for months. They decided to politely decline. They wanted to remain neutral and independent. They had no interest in galactic politics. Then came the propaganda. The Council spread lies about Varath aggression. They claimed the dragons were planning to conquer the galaxy. They said the Varath were dangerous and had to be stopped before they attacked. None of it was true. But the lies worked. Soon, the entire galaxy believed the Varath were enemies. The attacks began. Council fleets bombarded Varath worlds without warning. Civilians were killed by the millions. When Varath tried to flee, they were hunted down. Even the children were not spared. The humans watched in horror as the true genocide unfolded in Elder Krivash's memories. This was not war. This was systematic murder. An entire species erased because they refused to give up their freedom. Yiren was crying. Mirai looked sick. Even Daesung, who had seen terrible things in war, was pale and shaking. But Elder Krivash showed them one more thing. The memory that broke everything. She showed them what really happened to Commander Velkra's homeworld centuries ago. The incident that had started Velkra's hatred of the Varath. The Council had bombed a Varath supply station, cutting off food and medicine to a colony of peaceful Varath. Desperate and starving, a group of young Varath had gone looking for help. They found an Ashkari settlement on a nearby planet and tried to land to ask for aid. But the Ashkari, believing the propaganda about dangerous dragons, had fired on them. The young Varath, scared and hurt, had tried to defend themselves. In the confusion and panic, buildings were damaged. People died on both sides. The Council reported it as a Varath attack. They never mentioned that they had created the situation by cutting off the Varath food supplies. They never mentioned that the Varath were refugees asking for help. They just called it another example of Varath violence. And Velkra had believed it her entire life. Her family had died in that incident. She had spent centuries seeking revenge against a species that had never wanted to hurt anyone. Just as Elder Krivash finished sharing the memories, alarms blared outside. The extermination fleet had found them. Commander Velkra had followed them to the sanctuary world. Dozens of warships surrounded the planet. Their weapons were charging. Velkra's voice boomed over every speaker. This ends now. Surrender the Varath or I will destroy this entire planet. You have 1 hour. Elder Krivash stood tall, her massive form blocking the temple entrance protectively. The 3 hatchlings huddled close to her. The humans gathered together ready to make their last stand, but Sky, the smallest hatchling, stepped forward. The young Varath looked up at Elder Krivash with determined eyes. Let me try. Let me show her what you showed us. Maybe she will understand. No, Teho said immediately. It is too dangerous. She might hurt you. Sky looked at him with wise eyes that seemed too old for such a young creature. You risked everything to save us. Now let me try to save everyone. This is what Varath do. We heal. We bring understanding. We bridge the gaps between different minds. Elder Krivash nodded slowly. She placed her head gently on Sky's back, sharing her power with the young one. Go, little one. Show her the truth. Show her that the violence was never our choice. Sky flew out of the temple and up toward the fleet. The small dragon looked tiny compared to the massive warships. Velkra's ship locked weapons on Sky immediately. Inside the command ship, Velkra stared at the screen showing the approaching hatchling. Her fingers hovered over the fire button. She could destroy this creature right now, end this threat once and for all. But something made her hesitate. Maybe it was because the hatchling was so small. Maybe it was because somewhere deep inside she was starting to doubt everything she believed. Sky reached out with its mind, not forcing, not attacking, just offering, asking permission to share. Velkra felt the gentle touch. For a moment she almost pulled away. But curiosity won. She opened her mind just a little bit, and Sky showed her everything. Elder Krivash's memories flooded into Velkra's consciousness. The peaceful Vareth civilization, the unprovoked attacks, the genocide, and most importantly, the truth about what happened to Velkra's homeworld. Velkra watched her own history unfold from the Varath perspective. She saw the starving dragons trying to find help. She saw them landing peacefully, trying to communicate. She saw the Ashkari fire first out of fear. She saw the young Varath defend themselves in panic, never meaning to hurt anyone. And she saw that her family had died not because of evil dragons, but because of a tragedy created by the Council's cruelty and everyone's fear. Velkra's forearms fell to her sides. Her weapon controls went dark. She stared at nothing, her mind reeling from the revelation. Everything she believed was a lie. Everything she had done was based on false information. She had spent centuries hunting an innocent species. She had killed people who did nothing wrong. She was not a hero protecting the galaxy. She was a tool of genocide. The commander fell to her knees. Her body shook with sobs. What had she done? How many innocent lives had she ended? How could she ever make this right? Sky landed on her command ship and walked into the bridge. The small dragon approached the broken commander and gently touched her with one wing. You did not know. The Council lied to everyone. Your pain is real. Your loss is real. But you can choose differently now. You can help us end this cycle of death. Velkra looked at the young Vareth through tear-filled eyes. Why would you forgive me? I have killed so many of your kind because holding on to hate only creates more death. Because you were a victim too, just in a different way. Because change must start somewhere, and it can start with you. The commander slowly stood up. She walked to her communication console. Her crew watched in confusion as she opened a channel to every device in the galaxy. Not just Council channels. Every channel. Every world. Every ship. Her voice was steady despite her pain. This is Commander Velkra of the Galactic Council Extermination Fleet. I have spent my life hunting the Varath. I believed I was protecting the galaxy. I was wrong. I have been shown the truth and now I share it with you. She transmitted everything. Elder Kravash's memories. The documented proof of the genocide. The truth about every incident the Council had reported as Varath aggression. All of it. The Varath were not monsters. They were victims. And I helped kill them. I was a tool of genocide. The Council lied to all of us. They murdered an entire species because those people wanted to be free. Velkra's voice broke, but she continued. I surrender myself for trial as a war criminal. I take full responsibility for my actions. But I beg you, people of the galaxy, do not let my mistakes continue. These hatchlings are innocent. The elder who survived is innocent. Let them live. Let the Varath species survive. Do not let the lie continue. She closed the channel and ordered her fleet to power down all weapons. Stand down. We are done killing. Across the galaxy, people watched the broadcast in shock. The truth spread like wildfire. Within hours, protests erupted on hundreds of worlds. Council buildings were surrounded by angry citizens demanding answers. Some council leaders tried to run. Others tried to deny everything. But the proof was undeniable. The Galactic Council's power crumbled in a single day. On the sanctuary world, Taiho held Sky close as the little dragon returned safely. The hatchling was exhausted but happy. We did it. The truth is free now. No more hiding. No more running. Elder Kravash smiled, her first real smile in 300 years. Now we can begin to heal. Now we can rebuild. And it is all because one human refused to look away when he found 3 dying children. Thank you, Taiho of Earth. You saved more than 3 lives. You saved an entire species. The galaxy would never be the same. The age of lies was over. The age of truth had begun. 6 months had passed since Commander Velkra's broadcast shook the galaxy. The changes had been swift and dramatic. The old Galactic Council had collapsed completely. Some of its leaders were arrested and put on trial for war crimes. Others disappeared, hiding from justice. A few, the ones who had opposed the genocide but been silenced, came forward to help build something new. In its place, a new organization was forming. They called it the Coalition for Truth and Reconciliation. Representatives from hundreds of worlds gathered to create rules based on honesty, freedom, and respect for all species. It would take years to finish, but the work had begun. Hierin had been freed within days of the broadcast. She was now famous across the galaxy as the scientist who helped expose the truth. Universities on dozens of worlds wanted her to teach, but she chose to stay on the sanctuary world, documenting Varath culture and history. She wanted to make sure their story was never forgotten again. The three hatchlings had grown remarkably. Ember, Shadow, and Sky were now the size of small buildings. Their scales gleamed with inner light, and their mental abilities had become incredibly powerful. Under Elder Crevash's teaching, they were learning about their heritage and their responsibilities as some of the last Varath alive. But they still considered Taiho their family. Every day they would spend time with him, sharing thoughts and feelings. Sky especially stayed close to the human who had saved them. Taiho himself had become the most famous human in the galaxy. Everyone wanted to meet him. Governments offered him positions of power. Rich people offered him wealth beyond imagination. News reporters followed him everywhere asking for interviews. He turned it all down. "I am just a cargo pilot," he told them repeatedly. "I did what anyone should do. I helped someone who needed help. That does not make me special." But people disagreed. Humanity's reputation in the galaxy had changed overnight. Other species now saw humans as beings of great moral courage. The concept that Taiho represented, putting compassion above fear and helping others at personal cost, started spreading. Some aliens even created a new word in their languages. They called it being human-hearted. Mireille had returned to Haven Station and started a new business. She built and modified ships for refugees and people who needed to escape danger. Her shop became famous as a place where the powerless could find help. She never charged more than people could afford, and sometimes she worked for free. Daesung had changed the most. The former bounty hunter spent his days hunting down the remaining council hardliners who still tried to hurt innocent species. He had dedicated his life to protecting those who could not protect themselves. He saw it as his way of making up for the terrible things he had done in the past. Commander Velcro had expected to be executed for her crimes. Instead, something unexpected happened. At her trial, thousands of Varath supporters, including Elder Crevash herself, spoke on her behalf. They explained that she had been lied to and manipulated. They said that her final act of courage, broadcasting the truth despite knowing it would destroy her, had saved countless lives. The judges were not sure what to do. She had killed many innocent beings, but she had also helped end the genocide and expose the truth. Finally, they reached a decision. Velcro would serve as a truth commissioner. She would spend the rest of her life traveling the galaxy, testifying about the lies she had been told and the crimes she had committed. She would make sure that everyone knew the full truth about what happened. Velcro accepted the sentence with quiet dignity. She knew she could never truly make up for what she had done, but she would spend every day trying. On the sanctuary world, Elder Crevash had been preparing for something important. One day she called Taiho and his friends to the temple. The three hatchlings were there too, looking excited. Elder Crevash's mental voice was warm and hopeful. "I have something to show you, something wonderful. Follow me." She led them deep into the mountain beneath the temple. They walked through ancient tunnels carved by Varath claws thousands of years ago. Finally, they entered a massive cavern that glowed with soft blue light. Inside the cavern, arranged in careful rows, were dozens of large crystal eggs. Each one pulsed with a faint inner light. Taiho's eyes went wide. "Are those what I think they are?" "Varath eggs, 57 of them to be exact. The parents who were on that refugee ship, the ones who died protecting their 3 babies, brought these here before the final attack. They hid them in stasis, hoping that someday it would be safe for them to hatch." Hiren walked closer to the eggs, studying them with wonder. "They are still alive, still developing. If we bring them out of stasis carefully, they will hatch." Elder Crevash nodded. "The Varath are not extinct. We are not just 4 survivors. We are the beginning of a new generation. Thanks to you, Taiho, these children will have a chance to live. The species you saved was not just 3 hatchlings. You saved the future of an entire people." Taiho felt tears running down his face. When he had found those 3 small dying creatures in that destroyed ship, he had never imagined this. He had just wanted to help 3 children, but that one act of kindness had changed everything. Over the next months, they carefully brought the eggs out of stasis. One by one, new hatchlings began to emerge. Each one was unique and beautiful. The sanctuary world, which had been empty and silent for so long, was now filled with the sounds of young dragons learning to fly, playing in the crystal forests, and filling the ancient cities with life again. The Varath invited other species to visit and learn from them. They shared their knowledge of healing, of mental discipline, of energy manipulation. They taught peaceful ways of resolving conflicts. They proved through their actions that they were never the monsters the Council had claimed. Humans became special friends of the Verith. The dragons saw in humanity a kindred spirit, a species that valued compassion and courage. Many young humans came to the sanctuary world to study. Many young Verith went to human worlds to teach and learn. The galaxy was changing. It was becoming a place where truth mattered more than power, where helping others was seen as strength, not weakness, where different species could live together in real peace. It was not perfect. There were still problems. Some people still believed the old lies. Some species still distrusted others. But things were getting better, slowly but surely. 5 years after the rescue, Tejo finally did what he had always said he would do. He went back to being a cargo pilot. He got the Morning Wind repaired and upgraded, and he started taking jobs again. But now his reputation meant something different. When people saw his ship, they did not see just a cargo vessel. They saw hope. They saw proof that one person could make a difference. They saw evidence that doing the right thing mattered. Tejo also started a foundation with money donated by grateful people across the galaxy. The foundation's mission was to rescue endangered sentient species and help refugees find safety. Mirai ran the operations. Daesung led the security teams. Hiron provided scientific expertise, and the Verith helped with resources and transportation. Ember, Shadow, and Sky, now magnificent adult dragons, served as ambassadors. They traveled the galaxy, teaching about peace and understanding. But they always came back to visit Tejo regularly. The bond between them had never weakened. One quiet evening, Tejo sat in his ship's cockpit, looking down at the sanctuary world below. It was beautiful. The cities glowed with light. Dragons flew through the air in graceful patterns. He could see groups of different species walking together through the streets, learning from each other. His communication system beeped. A new message. Another distress call from a remote sector. An unknown species was under attack by pirates. They needed help. Tejo started to calculate the route, but before he could finish, Sky's voice entered his mind. I felt your thoughts. Someone needs help. Shall we go, Guardian? Tejo smiled. Through his window, he could see 3 massive shapes rising into the sky. Ember, Shadow, and Sky were already preparing to follow him. Other dragons were joining them too. A whole flight of Verith, ready to help protect the innocent. Yes, Tejo sent back. We go help them. Because that is what we do. The Morning Wind lifted off, followed by a dozen adult Verith. They activated their engines and jumped into hyperspace, heading toward people who needed them. In the galaxy, there would always be those who needed help. There would always be bullies and tyrants and people who hurt the weak. But now, there were also people who would stand up for the innocent. People who would risk everything to do what was right. People who understood that the greatest strength was not weapons or power, but compassion and courage. And at the front of that movement was a simple cargo pilot who had once refused to look away when he found 3 dying children. A human who had shown the galaxy what it truly meant to be good. Back on the sanctuary world, Elder Cravash watched the ships disappear into the stars. She smiled. The humans have a saying, humanity, fuck yeah. I believe I understand it now. It is not about being perfect. It is not about being the strongest or the smartest. It is about having the courage to care when others do not. It is about standing up for what is right, even when the whole universe says you are wrong. Tejo showed us that. He showed us that one person with a good heart can change the entire galaxy, and for that, we will be forever grateful. Around her, young Verith hatchlings played and learned, growing up in a world where they did not have to hide or fear. Growing up with hope and freedom. Growing up because one human had refused to let them die. The age of lies was over. The age of truth had truly begun. And it had started with the simple decision of a cargo pilot named Tejo, who saw 3 dying children and chose to save them. That was the real power of humanity. Not their weapons, not their technology, but their stubborn, beautiful refusal to abandon those who needed help, and the galaxy was better for it.